Thank you. So, Canto 3, Chapter 2, text 16. And we will start by Sanskrit words. Mam Kedayati Etat Ajasya Janma Vidambanam Yat Vasudeva Gehe Vraje Cha Vasaha Ari Bayat Iva Svayam Purat Vyavatsit Yat Anantavirya. Line by line. Mam ke dayatyetat ajasya janma Vidambanam yadvasudeva gehe Vraje chavasori bayat iva svayam Purad vyavatsityat ananta viryaha Mam ke dayatyetat ajasya janma Vidambanam yatasat vasudeva gehe Vraje chavasari bhayati vasvayam Purad vyavatsityat ananta viryaha Mam ke dayatyetat ajasya janma Vidambanam yadvasudeva gehe Vraje chavasori bhayati vasvayam Pura vyavatsityat ananta virya Mam ke dayatyetat ajasya janma
Vidambanam yadvasudeva gehe
Vidambanam yadvasudeva gehe
Vraje javasori bayati vasvayam
Vraje chavasori bhayati vasvayam Pura vyavatsityat ananta viryaha
Mam ke dayatyetat ajasya janma
Mam ke dayatyetat ajasya janma
Vidambanam yatasudeva geha
Vidambanam yadvasudeva gehe
Vraje chavasori bhayati vasvayam
Vraje chavasori bhayati vasvayam
Purad vyavatsityat ananta virya
Pura vyavatsityat ananta viryaha
Mam ke dayati etat asya yanma
Mam ke dayatyetat ajasya janma
Vidambanam yadvasudeva gehe
Vidambanam yadvasudeva gehe
Vraye savasori bhayati vasayam
Vraje chavasari bhayati vasvayam
Purad vyavatsityat ananta virya
Pura vyavatsityat ananta viryaha
Mam kedayat yetara jasya janma.
Mam kedayat yatara jasya janma.
Vidambanam yad vasudeva gehe.
Vidambanam yad vasudeva gehe.
Vaje chavasa vibhayari vasvayam.
Raje chavasa vibhayari vasvayam.
Purvadyavatsid yadananta virya.
Puradhyavatsira yadananta virya. Mam keda yatyetare jasya janma.
Mam kedayat yetara jasya janma.
Vidambanam yad vasudeva gehe.
Vidambanam yad vasudeva gehe.
Raje chavasa vibhayari vasvayam.
Raje chavasa vipayadi vasvayam.
Puradhyavatsira yadananta virya.
Puradhyavatsi yadananta virya.
Mam kedayat chedadachasya janma.
Mam kedayate tatajasya janma.
Vidambanam yad vasudeva gehe.
Vidambanam yat vasudeva gehe.
Vaje shavaso vivayadi vasvayam.
Vraje chavasori bhayate vasvayam.
Puradhyavasti sidhyadananta virya.
Puradhyavatsi yatananta virya. Mam, to me, kedayati, gives me distress. Etat, this, ajasya, of the unborn, janma, birth, vidambanam, bewildering, yat, dead, vasudeva gehe, in the home of Vasudev, vraje, in Vrindavan, cha, also, vasaha, inhabitation, ari, enemy, bhayat, because of fear, iva, as if, svayam, himself, purat, from Mathura Puri, Vyavatsit, fled, Yat, one who is, Anantaviryaha, unlimitedly powerful. Translation: when I think of Lord Krishna, how he was born in the prison house of Vasudev, although he is unborn, how he went away from his father's protection to Vraja and lived there incognito, out of fear of the enemy, and how, although unlimitedly powerful, he fled from Mathura in fear, all these bewildering incidents give me distress. Purport: because Lord Shri Krishna is the original person from whom everything and everyone has emanated, aham sarvasya prabhava, janmadhyasya yataha. Nothing can be equal to or greater than him. The Lord is supremely perfect, and whenever he enacts his transcendental pastimes as a son, a rival, or an object of enmity, he plays the part so perfectly that even pure devotees like Uddhava are bewildered. For example, Uddhava knew perfectly well that Lord Shri Krishna is eternally existent and can neither die nor disappear for good, yet he lamented for Lord Krishna. All these events are perfect arrangements to give perfection to his supreme glories. It is for enjoyment's sake. When a father plays with his little son and the father lies down on the floor as if defeated by the son, it is just to give the little son pleasure and nothing more. Because the Lord is all-powerful, it is possible for him to adjust opposites, such as birth and no birth, power and defeat, fear and fearlessness. A pure devotee knows very well how it is possible for the Lord to adjust opposite things, but he laments for the non-devotees who, not knowing the supreme glories of the Lord, think of him as imaginary, simply because there are so many apparently contradictory statements in the scriptures. Factually, there is nothing contradictory. Everything is possible when we understand the Lord and not as one of us, with all our imperfection. Om Ajnanati Mirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uttaparakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saganara Gunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishaghan Vatamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jikatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindhuva evacha Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Iti Namine Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavari Pasketa Desha Tarine Hare Krishna. So, Canto 3, Chapter 2, Text 16. And we are reading about the remembrance of Lord Krishna. And we can go through these statements. So that there are various understandings of the Lord, and one understanding is the understanding of the Lord as the supreme, as the one from whom everything is created and everything sprouts out. And this feature is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, Aham Sarvasya Prabhava. That's the first nutshell verse. And then in Vedanta Sutra, Janmadhyasya Yataha, that's the second shloka in Vedanta Sutra. Does anyone know what's the first shloka of Vedanta Sutra? Any more guesses? What's the first?
Atato Brahma Vidyasa.
Yes, Jai, Atato Brahma Jignasa. Now is the time to inquire. Now is the time to inquire. Why? Because now we have this human form of body in which we can do more things than just eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. We can actually do something that will provide us lasting eternal benefit. So that's the that's the beginning, and then the thing is Janma Adyasya Yataha, and that's the point where Srimad Bhagavatam starts also in its first shloka, and like we discussed here yesterday, I think in our home program, that like the first shloka of the book like naturally has some special significance. So this Janmadhyasya Yataha has special significance because it's at the beginning of the first shloka of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and that means one from whom creation and so on. That's the translation, and this is the sutra. And creation and so on means creation, maintenance, and distractions. And that's the description of the absolute truth, of the cause of all causes. So this is one feature of understanding, and that means that no one can be equal to or greater than him. Asama urdhva. Asama urdhva. Sama means the same. Urdhva means up. Urdhva mulam. That's the 15th chapter. Like the tree with its roots up. So urdhva means up. Asama, that's just non-equal. So asama urdhva. No one can be equal to or greater than him. Why? Because everything sprouts from him. So every quality which is also contained in him, and he is the absolute truth. And Srimad Bhagavatam, the subject matter of Srimad Bhagavatam is the absolute truth. It's not necessarily God, because there could be so many gods. There are so many ideas, philosophies, religions with so many gods. I can be God in my house. That's a fantasy. But in theory, or a boss is God in his business. But here we are talking about the absolute truth. And here we are reading about the remembrance of Lord Krishna from a pure devotee. And only the devotees can understand the full scale of the Lord. Because the non-devotees get stuck at some point. For example, some let's say philosophical speculators can perceive the Lord as the cause of all causes, as the greatest, right? The Lord is great, the God is great. That's like a common theme in many philosophies, but we often do not know how great he is. So only the devotee can understand how great the Lord is. Why? We are going there. Why the devotee can understand the greatness of the Lord? Because he can understand the Lord in full. So we get to learn in the Vedanta Sutra, in Srimad Bhagavatam, these qualities of the greatness of Godhead, like he is free from fear, he is free from anxiety, like he's like free from like the so-called bad things that we want to get rid of. Like last time we were speaking about the uncomfortable feelings. So he's free from like those uncomfortable feelings that we are experiencing in this world. At the same time, there are Vedic scriptures which describe Krishna as like Krishna being in fear, like in his Vrindavan pastimes, where Mother Yashoda is taking her whipping stick, so he trembles in fear, and actually only a devotee can understand how Krishna can be the greatest, the fearless, the unchangeable, and at the same time experiencing the pure form of all those feelings that we are experiencing. This is like pure form of fear. There is no no material tinge. There is no. It's not grungy fear. So grungy fear is from the misidentification with the matter. The fear comes from my, the fear is about something which is not me. So about my gross body, subtle body, how I look, if I'm like blamed or criticized, but it's not me, it's the body, it's the play, like it's about the role I play in the material world. So if that role is like under some danger, if I expect that I don't know, lose my family, lose my house, lose my car, my fame, prestige, reputation, maybe as a businessman or a successful businessman, or as a good man, as a good husband, then I'm experiencing material fear and material anxiety. And what's this? Spiritual anxiety, spiritual fear. It's also fear, but its quality is such that it brings us closer to Krishna, and for Krishna, it brings him closer to his devotees. So we are having this exchange that only the devotees experience fully. The pure devotees. Okay. So I was researching about like few things, and like I've been also listening today to a class given by Prabhupada, and the class was on one of the verses of the prayers by Queen Kunti, and I think it quite fits to this text and our discussion. So I will read a little bit from the prayers of Queen Kunti, because it's also her praise and remembrance of Lord Krishna. So that's the text 18 from chapter 8, canto 1. Kunti uvacha namasye purusham tvadyam ishvaram prakrite param alakshyam sarvabhutanam antarbahir avastitam. Srimati Kunti said, O Krishna, I offer my obeisances unto you, because you are the original personality and are unaffected by the qualities of the material world. You are existing both within and without everything, yet you are invisible to all. So that points to one feature of relationship of devotees with the Lord. It's not like the devotee is like in the mood of, okay, God is great. Now I know who God is, and it's fine. It's like finished. Now I've understood God. It's like different. It's like completely different. Why? Yes. Why it's not that simple, right? God is great. Just give me rest so I can go to sleep or something. So pure devotee of Krishna is always amazed by the Lord. So here Queen Kunti, she's in this wonder, like how Krishna can be both within and without, like outside and inside. Like in the morning, we sing the Yato yamitato narsimho bahir narsimho hridaye narsimho. So Lord is inside in the heart, and also outside. So it's the same. He's present in the heart of every living entity, and also outside he's spread. And the devotee can understand why these two seemingly different things can be at the same time, because he understands the Lord as a person. That's important. Because if someone thinks, okay, the Lord is great, God is great, absolute truth is great, there is no personal relationship necessarily. So, but if I understand the absolute truth as a person, then it opens space to develop feelings and greater understanding of the Lord. I will read maybe a few more verses of the prayers of Queen Kunti, and we shall see. Maya javanika kshanam adnya adokshajam avyayam nalakshyase mudhadrisha natyo natya dharo yatha. Being beyond the range of limited sense perception, you are the eternally irreproachable factor covered by the curtain of deluding energy. You are invisible to the foolish observer, exactly as an actor dressed as a player is not recognized. So I said, okay, only the devotee can understand all the features, like the Lord in full. And the full does not mean like that I, as a living entity, can understand like 100% of the Lord, because I'm small and limited, but the Lord is unlimited. But in full, it's like the beginning of the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. In full means in full as far as I'm able to understand. And the understanding can always expand. If I'm foolish, then I don't understand or even see the Lord, even though the Lord is both inside and outside, because I will be confused by his force. So we have a chance to become pure devotees. That's great. And how we become pure devotees, that's what was Prabhupada discussing in the class on these verses that I was listening in the morning, and we have a chance to get qualified. And how can we get qualified? By purifying ourselves, by developing the qualities of not just the Brahminical qualities, like Prabhupada was talking about the Brahminical qualities, but also like the qualities of the pure spirit soul. And that's the process of hearing and chanting. It's like the main two activities, and also following the regulative principles of freedom. Like yesterday, I was listening to a different class of Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was saying we need to stay dry, like the dry wood. So if I have a piece of dry wood, I can very easily start flame with that dry wood. So it's our responsibility if we want to achieve this goal, to stay dry, so not to unnecessarily indulge in sinful acts. So by these two we can get purified by the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, and then we can start understanding all those maybe seemingly contradictory statements in the scriptures, like how can Lord be fearful and fearless at the same time, how he can take birth and at the same time be one who is unborn, the cause of all causes. Because Prabhupada mentions it in the purport. What's the sense of all this? Because the point is that it's for his enjoyment. The goal is to enjoy, and it's goal for the Lord and also for us, the living entities. So the Lord wants to enjoy his relationships and tastes, and for that he also shows fear. He shows birth, like there he shows how he leaves the world, and the pure devotees, they experience also like fear. At the same time, it's a different quality of fear for the pure devotee, because the pure devotee is always strongly fixed in Krishna. So it's not like this fear that I have usually, like the fear that I will die, that I will lose some part of myself. Like this material fear is only a result of consciousness of incompleteness. Yes. So a pure devotee can experience fear. At the same time, he also like experiences full dependency on the Lord, and by full dependency, he is experiencing being complete, and he does not seek the objects of the senses, basically. So that's the distinction, like the Lord feeling fearful, the pure devotee feeling fearful, and me being in fear. Yes, and the last sentence in the purport: everything is possible when we understand the Lord as the Lord and not as one of us with all our imperfection. Because if I come to the understanding of the Lord or to the understanding of the scriptures from the perspective, fine, so this Lord or this Krishna, he's someone like me, I will never have a chance to understand the Lord, because his qualities are beyond my sensual experience. Like I will be like the frog in the well. I will be thinking, okay, so the Lord is great, so maybe he is a little bit greater than me. So I have one house, so maybe the Lord has a whole village, and like that. And and still like if I like that's the limitation of the philosophical understanding, that we will always have a sense to like judge by our sensual experience until we render devotional service. Until we render devotional service, only after that we can understand the true qualities of the Lord and these seeming contradictions of how can the Lord can take birth and at the same time be the unborn, the cause of all causes. I will again read the verse. Mam ke deyatyetat ajasya janma vidambanam yadva sudeva gehe vraje chavasori bayati vasvayam puradevasityattananta viryaha. When I think of Lord Krishna, how he was born in the prison house of Vasudev, although he is unborn, how he went away from his father's protection to Vraja and lived there incognito out of fear of the enemy, and how, although unlimitedly powerful, he fled from Mathura in fear, all these bewildering incidents give me distress. Yes, and here as Uddhava is speaking, he is truly experiencing the feelings. It's not like fake feelings. It's not like, okay, like I'm feeling distress, but not really, because I understand that the Lord is safe and fine and big and stuff, and I don't need to care about the Lord because he can do everything by himself. That's not the perspective or the consciousness of the devotee. It's because the devotee wants to serve the Lord. So the Lord helps the devotee to serve him. So such that the devotee gets more and more dependent on him. Thank you for your listening. And now there is space for sharings, questions, realizations, and these things. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Kim?
It's Kim. Sorry, I was trying to raise my hand. I couldn't find the icon. Yeah, I just always find this discussion interesting just because when you're raised Christian, there's always a debate about Trinity and, oh, how could God, some people believe God is three things and then in one, and then some people say, oh, that's not true. Jesus is God's son. And you know, whether it's true or not, I'm not a Bible scholar to understand that, but I know the argument within the community. And one thing that always I thought was funny about the argument is people would say, well, how could God be, you know, three things, you know, how can he be Son and the Father? And I always thought that was funny that they could limit God like that. You know, of course he could be, you know, there's just, that's not an argument whatsoever, you know? So I always found that really an interesting argument that people could confine him like that, you know, confine God like that. And so I've always enjoyed when I learned, you know, from the Krishnas and everything, this concept, because it makes so much sense. Of course, God can be everything, all these things have all these relationships within himself, and the whole thing just makes so much sense to me, you know. So I just want to mention that. Thank you for the class.
Yes, thanks. Thanks. Like, yeah, like Christianity, they point to various rasas that God can experience. Like, of course, he can be a father and still have a different roles. So yes, it's there, and like here, like by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we are getting the full thing, like also those rasas that are not mentioned, at least according to my understanding in the Christian philosophy. So thank you for sharing that.
Malini, you had your hand up? Well, thanks for the class, Yogesvara Prabhu, and for your comment, Kim. Yes, let's see. And that's it, like, whether it's in what I saw in Christianity or Judaism, or what I got from the personal transformation movement, the human potential movement, going back to the 70s, like, I was attracted to different principles and understandings in different places. And then, reading Prabhupada's books and hearing the Siddhanta, this Vaishnava philosophy of Bhakti Yoga, then like I truly experienced, like, yeah, all is valid that I found in other traditions found its completion and perfection and integration in this Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Like Kim was sharing that, yeah, like, oh, how could God be two? If God is two, then it's not God. But then we have this principle, achintya beda beda tattva, simultaneously one and different. Prabhupada so often gives the example of like the sun rays and the sun. So the sun rays are the sun, and simultaneously the sun rays are different from the sun globe. So so God is the Father and manifested a Son, just like, okay, there's Sri Krishna, person of Godhead, manifested as the pure devotee, like that, the current link to the parampara, pure empowered acharya. Yeah, I appreciated so much, so many aspects of your class, Yogeshwar. I like that analogy very much about the dry wood that Prabhupada uses. That sure, like if the wood is wet, I mean, sure, if it's continually exposed to heat, eventually we'll get some smoke. But to prepare our consciousness with dry wood, and as soon as there's a little spark, then there's flames. So each day, looking at our habits of eating, sleeping, our habits of what are we doing with internet, what are we doing, what are different escape mechanisms, and like to the extent that we rigorously follow the ground rules, then this morning program, for you it's an afternoon program right now, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, chanting Hare Krishna, chanting japa, then we experience the flame. Then it's not this like trudging through mud. And I so much like appreciate and get value from that analogy from Srila Prabhupada. And I appreciated where you started with Janmadhyasya Yataha, following Prabhupada in the purport that, yeah, that we are persons. How can we deny personhood to our source? What exists in the effect must exist in the source. At the same time, as you nicely elaborated towards the closure of the class, okay, but it's a person of a different quality, right? It's a person of, yeah, it's not just like, okay, I have a house, okay, well, maybe source has 3 houses or a house on the beach or something. No, this is unlimited universes and like that. So it's a person of a completely different quality that we can't know, though we can realize. We can't know by the limitations of our cognition, but entering into the transcognitive, transphenomenal realm of humbly rendering devotional service, then we can realize Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to whatever extent he chooses to reveal himself to us. So this transcendental personhood, and look, in the field of psychology, the last several decades, there's this growing field of transpersonal psychology, and just what this verse talks about and your class talks about. That's, and not that I'm an expert in that branch of psychology, but I know a little, and like that's where they're trying to go, right? This transcendental personalism, but they can't quite get there because they're missing this bhakti element. They're missing this personal devotion element. And so it becomes usually becomes some sort of impersonal feel-good speculation in the name of transpersonalism. Hare Krishna, thanks for your class.
Thanks for sharing that. Like your inspiration by Prabhupada's example of the dry wood and the joy of life, right? Like constantly trying to improve ourselves as an exciting process, like that unlocks the spirit soul within. So yes, yeah. Yes. And there are of course always so many ways how I can like progress, and most of them are not like rocket science, or that I would need like a few weeks of coaching for that, if I look at it like sincerely. So then it's the question of do I really want that? And then yeah. Yes. Thanks for that. Yes, and the dry philosophical speculation. Yeah, it's like of course, like we want to feel good. Like that's a natural propensity to feel good, right? Because the spirit soul in its original position like feels good. It's more than feeling good, but it's a complete bliss, joy, and excitement, and like in the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, it's a thrill at every moment. So yes, so we have this propensity to like feel good, but in this world we are seeking like instruments of this feel good that rather hurt us. Like either we create some new stream of thinking, right? So I can feel good that I created something that did not wasn't there before, or I created some better philosophy than the philosopher before me, and such. And still like those like maybe more dangerous, or like more or less dangerous things, like I want to feel good, so I will act in a way that will hurt other living entities, because it's jivasya jivanam, so it's a constant struggle in the material world. So yes, so thanks for sharing that. Yes, Mother Malini.
Hi Krishna, Yogesvara Prabhu. Thank you for your class.
Hare Krishna.
I had read the verse yesterday. Last night I read the verse and next verse. And in my mind I thought, oh, I will just go to the prayer of Queen Kunti. Easy. So I'm just lamenting now. But I really appreciated all the philosophical and nuanced point you made about our approach to God and wanting to put God in a box. And also when you say, okay, God is great. Okay, I'm done. and then also coming to a place like, okay, he's great. It's like the frog Like, okay, so the ocean is great. It's like 3 times bigger than my well, or 6 times bigger than my well. Okay, 10 times bigger than my wells. But then by that, we are not going to go anywhere. But the point that struck with me is about fear and fearlessness. And you spoke about material fear, and you say there is spiritual fear, and that spiritual fear brings us closer to Krishna. And I thought, okay, what does that mean for me, spiritual fear? So I thought of a few things, and I'd like to hear from you. But one thing that came to mind is one conversation we had with one of the group reading with ladies was about the fear of Maya. That Srila Prabhupada said, that he was lamenting that his disciples were not fear of Maya. And then there was some comment like that sounded like fear of God. Like, oh, we want to approach God out of love, not out of fear. But I thought about it since, and I thought about like fear of Maya is not fear of God. And that the fear of Maya, if it's really fear of Maya, understanding Krishna's Maya is very strong, and that I can be confused and become like really, really wet wood. Then that fear is enlivening, it's uplifting, it's a fear that can bring me closer to God, to Krishna, appreciating how beautiful his creation is and how smart the whole system is. So that's one thing that came to mind when you spoke about spiritual fear, and I wonder, is that part of spiritual fear? And then another one is like maybe a fear of leaving this planet without really being an instrument of the spiritual master's mission. And I know, like I have constant, it's like a battle within myself, like about that. So that's all I wanted to say. Hare Krishna.
Yes, thanks for your inspiring sharing. Like I will begin from the last thing probably. It's like, yeah, like being the instrument of the spiritual master. Yeah, like we committed ourselves fully to Prabhupada, or at least in my case, I claimed it. So yes, of course, like it makes sense to like, that's the one and only goal, to like be an instrument of the spiritual master. And I hear your like fear, anxiety, like thinking like if you are like in this lifetime having this role. And like I have one kind of response. I don't have a full answer, but like it's like I wouldn't maybe make such distinction between like this life and the next life if I don't manage to like be an instrument. Like in this lifetime, I can be in the next lifetime. I don't want to be like procrastinating, but the relationship with the spiritual master, like it's not just for this lifetime. So it seems to me that if I cultivate my desire to become an instrument of the spiritual master, but by some set of circumstances, I don't get to like manifest that, I will have a chance if I'm sincere. So that's my like response. And then as you shared about the fear, okay, like the fear of the material force, and it makes sense to me. Like spiritual fear is the fear that brings me closer to Krishna. And in the Bhagavatam, it is said the material energy is on the back of Krishna. So I don't want to like stay like facing the back of Krishna. I want to see his face, of course. So and And what came to me, it's like, if I have like a fear of the material force, then it motivates me to make distinctions, to really connect not with just sankalpa force, but also with vikalpa. So sankalpa means I will do this, and sankalpa means I will not do this. And to be really like, for us to be like strong and fixed, we need to be connected with both of them. So yeah, like if I'm like experiencing fear, okay, if I spend on this website the next 15 minutes, 30 minutes, and so on, that it will really bring me pain in the long term, then that fear of that material pain can help me not to visit the website. So I think like that concern is very helpful.
Thank you. I appreciate like meditating on, okay, being sincere and honest and truthful about wanting to be an instrument of the mission of the spiritual master, and knowing like, yeah, of course, my desire will lead me there in this lifetime or the next or the next or the next, and through that sincerity, and then endeavor to at least keep that intention alive, very alive. While, you know, like, I think also there is a part for those kind of fear, like feeling that I'm not doing enough. Like yesterday, I was reading some bhajan from Vaishnava acharyas, and there is a lot of those moods too, like feeling that I'm not going to serve Krishna enough, or that in fact I only, you know, like I only serve my senses all my life, you know, like coming from very exalted devotees. That's how I feel inside. So there is that sense of despondency that they are manifesting in their songs and in their writings, Prabhupada included, of like a fear that maybe to the neophyte or the materialist still sound like the same, but in fact it's like a really spiritual fear. And then yeah, and then the fear of Maya, the way I understand it anyway, it's not so much fearful that I'll get hurt or pain, but more like in a sense of fear of Maya, that Maya is going to take me away from Krishna. I think that's how Prabhupada, I think the way Prabhupada used it was not so much like, oh, I'm scared of the pain that could come if I spend time on the internet or whatever. And maybe more like, well, I'm scared. I'm scared that that illusory potency of the Lord can put me so much in illusion that I'm going to forget Krishna. I'm going to forget why I'm chanting. I'm going to forget why, you know, I want to get up in the morning. I'm going to forget all that, because that powerful energy can cover me over and through me again in the illusion that I'm happy without Krishna.
Yes,
Krishna,
thanks
thank
for those distinctions. Yeah, it seems like wanting, like experiencing fear that I will forget Krishna is like more pure or pure fear compared to like my concern that I will have pain, because it's still a self-centered kind of thing. And yes, and I forgot the thing you expressed before that.
Hare Krishna, I'm reminded in this discussion of Prabhupada's statement that his greatest anxiety is that his followers are not scared enough of Maya. I think it relates, and so that of course is transcendental anxiety. And I'm just like in this, I'm looking at it practically applied to myself today. Okay, so all right. So morning programs. Actually, I got up. I got up at 3 a.m. today to read Bhagavatam and Prabhupada's transcribed Bhagavatam lectures before morning program starts. I got up at 3 a.m. and then I went back to sleep. Okay, and then I got up just in time to get to 5 a.m. program, so I went back to sleep. All right. So I'm thinking, so sure, I have a full day of sessions and meetings like that. At the same time, I know that I'm completely capable to clear time for the nectar of reading Srimad Bhagavatam in my personal reading. I'm reading Canto 7 and Prabhupada's lectures on Bhagavatam. I'm reading a series of like 3 months of lectures that Prabhupada gave on the third canto, Sankhya philosophy in Bombay, Kapila Dev's teaching. So it's such nectar. And I know that, yeah, like once it's not early morning, it's easier for me to give power to my, oh, there's no time, I need to do this. What about this email? Like that. So I know I'm able to include between now and when I take rest at 9 or 10 tonight, of course I can clear that half hour, 45 minutes. At the same time, I'm like, I'm fearful that I'll be too weak, not strong enough in my determination, and that the illusory conversation, not time. There's other important things to do, and so I'm just looking at my personal process, because yeah, some of that is material anxiety that I won't clear time for that highest nectar that will bring me closer to me and Krishna. And then some of it is spiritual, like let that fear move me to be intentional and clear time. Maybe it's at 8:30 tonight. So I'm just bringing the conversation to my personal process.
Yeah, thanks for sharing like your personal process. Yes, like and like start where we are at and go from there. And like what you mentioned kind of complements what Mother Malini shared, like about like the pure devotees of Krishna, like being like in a concern that they are not doing enough for the Lord, like being like in constant anxiety that they could do more. It's like this, like they know that this is the goal, this is the final destination, and there is nothing more important. So the more I will connect with it, with this consciousness, it seems that naturally I will be more instrumental to the Lord, or at least clear the space to do it. And the more I will be like anxious about the condition of my eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, the less I will have room to be instrumental to the spiritual master, because it will be more about me than the service. We have some sharings here in our Lishnice Sangha. So
Yes, I'm thinking about something. So we as spirit souls, we're like little sparks of Krishna, the absolute. So almost everything that
We're not hearing so clearly. If you could get closer to the mic.
better.
Yes.
Okay. So something I'm thinking about in this lecture and discussion is that we as spirit souls, we have the same qualities that Krishna has, or almost all the qualities. So like Krishna has beauty, so we have some beauty too, and like this. So Krishna wants to enjoy, and it's described like he's doing all these things. He's hiding, and he's hiding in Vrindavan, and all these contradictory things, because he wants to enjoy. That's the goal. He wants to enjoy. And so we want to enjoy, and we do so many things to enjoy. Now, when Krishna does something to enjoy, he really has fun. Even if it's fighting with demons, but when we're doing something to enjoy, often it leads to suffering. So I'm wondering, is that propensity also in us, that, that I come to a place of, oh, here's a demon, here's some terrible situation, here's a war, here's a illness, here's death, here's old age, and I can come to a place of like, oh yes, this is great, and not in a way of being cynical or in a way of like being numb or narrow, or but really like a place of, oh great, this is a great challenge, let me fight this demon. And so I'm thinking about that. Maybe someone has a comment on this.
Yeah. Does anyone want to respond or react to the sharing?
I'd like to hear what you want to say, and I also would like to say something.
I'm glad that you start first, and maybe I will add something.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Nandini. Thank you, Yogesvara Prabhu. What came to me is that when we have beauty, we have propensity to enjoy, we have all those propensity. The we is not the we that we identified with in this body. So I believe it's we are part and parcel of Krishna, and when we don't identify with the body, we have the qualities of Krishna, of beauty, of renunciation, of intelligence, and of all those qualities of course, part and parcel of Krishna. Krishna is the supreme enjoyer, and the part and parcel of Krishna, as part and parcel of the supreme enjoyer, they are enjoyer, they're just infinitesimal enjoyer instead of infinite enjoyers. But like when the we, if the we become like me, Mary Glashin in this body, or Malini Devidasi in this body, then that's illusory, meaning like I don't have those qualities in my identification with the body. The identification with the body is identifying with matter, the inferior energy, and the inferior energy is not enjoying, it's not a supreme enjoyer in any way. So it's like the we, as we say we, is really understanding like me as a soul, as a spirit soul having a human experience. Then in that human experience, I don't get caught in anything, and I see everything Krishna, Krishna's hand, Krishna's love, Krishna's energy, Krishna's benevolence, and when there is no more identification with the little I that I believe I am. So that's what came to mind.
For example, like if I identify with me as spirit soul, servant of Krishna, like wanting to serve Krishna, go back home, then my focus wouldn't be on, oh, this is a sickness, or this is death, or this is an earthquake. My focus would be on how this is bringing me closer to Krishna.
I'm not sure how it is, but my sense is that if I don't identify with the body anymore, then it's just my focus is like, how can I create more enjoyment for Krishna? just the only focus. It's not even how to come closer to Krishna. We read that yesterday in the Nectar of Devotion. It's just like, how can I please Krishna? How can I make Krishna smile? How can I make Krishna enjoy? And if Krishna's enjoyment is for me to be like cast in hell or anything, then I'm really happy with that.
Yeah. So like, and anything that happens would be an opportunity to glorify Krishna.
Yeah, to glorify and to serve and to focus on Krishna's enjoyment. Yes.
Thank you.
Nice. I don't have like something to add really to it.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
I have a question. Thank you for the class. Is it good to be fearful of the spiritual master?
Like fearful in what sense? Would you like to share more?
Like fearful of upsetting him, offending him, not serving him. You know, I'm thinking of Srila Prabhupada, obviously. So I wonder if that's a good thing for devotees.
Well, yeah, like we want to be respectful to the spiritual master. So it seems to be that I want to be like in a healthy anxiety about like my service or how I behave. And Ladini, you want to respond?
Yes.
It will be probably something about me and my habits. So prepare for the fun.
Hare Krishna. Actually, it's going to be about Lord Nityananda. Haribo. So, yeah, like fear of spiritual master. My understanding that the spiritual master is merciful and doesn't take offenses. Like when Lord Nityananda was preaching to Jagai and Madai and he got his forehead broken to bleeding. He didn't take any offense and he still was their eternal well-wisher. Srila Prabhupada is our eternal well-wisher unconditionally. So if you make offenses or like that, he's still our eternal well-wisher. He's not going to slap us or condemn us. But Krishna will not be very happy with that. So then we should be fearful of Krishna to offend or whatever, neglect our spiritual master. That's my understanding. From that pastime, Lord Chaitanya appears and wants to kill Jagai and Madai with his Sudarshana Chakra or whatever name was it of that thing. Anyway, that's what I think. Hare Krishna.
Also, it seems like there can be a healthy growth-inspiring fear, anxiety to offend Srila Prabhupada, to displease him. Not that he's this onerous dictator, but that the integrity of our existence is in pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we know how to do that through Srila Prabhupada, his pure devotee. So there can be a healthy fear, and I think it's somewhat synonymous with a healthy fear of Maya, the force of illusion, and related to the previous discussion about it's the discussion of responding to apparent calamities, apparent misfortunes, on the material platform with deepened enthusiasm to serve Krishna, to please Krishna. It relates. I mean, we could do a whole study of that, seeing everything Prabhupada said about the Tate Nukampam verse. It's a verse spoken by Lord Brahma in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Tate Nukampam Susi Kshamanu Punjana Eva Makritam Vipakam Vidbag Bapurbir Vidadan namaste, jiveteyo mukti padesadayava. So that verse, Brahma said, yeah, that the heart of a devotee, that's full enlightenment, that whatever happens, especially the things that aren't according to script, we respond spontaneously with deeper inspiration to serve Krishna. Then Prabhupada quotes that verse so much, and I think it's a quintessential vital verse about that mentality. It also relates, from my perspective, to the invocation verse of Sri Ishopanishad, Om Purnam Maraha Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Udachite Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishite. That's the verse. Like Prabhupada uses the word complete dozens of times in a pretty short purport. Everything's perfect and complete, even the material creation. So how are the pandemics? How's the brutality? How's the senseless war and violence? How is that perfect and complete? It's a perfectly complete arrangement for my self-realization, for my becoming deeper and deeper in my enthusiasm to give my life to serve Krishna. And to the extent that we spontaneously respond that way, well, that means we're moving towards pure devotional service.
I noticed that you said apparent calamities. So I wish I would even have this consciousness of apparent calamity.
Yeah, well, we experience them as real calamities.
Yes,
they are real. They are real, yeah. And at some intellectual level, I know I'm experiencing them as real calamities because I'm still in the bodily conception of life.
Yes, like it's also like in the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, like the very first verse, like there is said that this world is unreal. So that connects that these waves that we are experiencing are not real. And Mother Malini?
I just wanted to make one comment about the last sentence of Dear Govinda Prabhu is spontaneously. Like, okay, sometimes it takes, a week, or sometimes it takes months, or sometimes it takes years. At one point or another, most of us, we come to that realization. But the spontaneously, I thought like, oh yeah, it's a really important word. That right away we see, oh, this is just great. This is so wonderful. This is so amazing. How creative. And about the spiritual master and the fear of the spiritual master, I just wanted to share something like reading different biography of Srila Prabhupada. And I get really a sense of the different relationship that Prabhupada has with his disciple and his disciple with him. And I do believe that for some, fear is very conducive of the spiritual master, and that Prabhupada does cultivate that, knowing that, oh, that's what's going to serve that person. Like sometimes Prabhupada expressed that in a pastime with the Damodar Lila, he speaks about the parents, and sometimes the parents shows a stick, because it's really important that the children are somewhat scared of the parents. And of course, the parents are always omnipotently like benevolent and loving toward the children. And then Srila Prabhupada, he said like for their well-being. So for our well-being, according to who we are and our relationship with Srila Prabhupada, it may be very conducive for our well-being to have that fear of Srila Prabhupada. So Prabhupada is benevolent and is loving and everything. And yeah, it seems that in some of the way he responds to his disciple, which is not one. It's not like he's responding to all his disciples the same way. His relationship with me is different than his relationship with Damayanti, than Yogesvara, or Shamasundar, or like, and during his pastimes, before before his final pastimes that he manifested on earth, 45 years ago, he does manifest that with some with some of his disciples, he was like cutting. Guru means cutting, like really heavy cutting. And with some, it was just soft and mild all the time. So naturally, now it's the same. Maybe we don't have the manifested form, but we have Prabhupada's Vapu and Vani for us. And our relationship with Srila Prabhupada and our level of fear of him is going to be according to what's best for us, for our spiritual life.
That's a great way to close. Thank you for your presence. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki,
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki,
Jai.
Haribol.